Hi, welcome back. So a couple of videos ago I had a major rant on people not taking this whole isolation quarantine serious. I just feel like it wasn't the best way to support everyone in trying to stay home. So I thought I'd give some proper tips on why to stay home and how to stay home. I know it's just from an ordinary person, but so I try to keep my information, my sources to a minimum so I don't get too many different opinions or too many different statements that can start contradicting each other. So the first one, I watched Dr. Mike. I've already been watching Dr. Mike for a long time before the whole virus started, and I'm usually pretty choosy on the doctors I listen to because I've had a lot of bad experiences with doctors. They just never seem to take what I had seriously. Like the eczema I had turned out to be a staph infection, and I went to multiple doctors because I'm not a doctor, but I am an esthetician, and I did know this wasn't just eczema. And so I went to multiple doctors and showed them, and they're like, no, it's just eczema.
Just do this cream. That cream.
And even though I've already used those creams before and it didn't work, they just like, oh,
Try it again.
and it was very frustrating. So I found out from an actual client who was a doctor that I can go into a clinic and ask to be swabbed and they can't say no. So I finally went into a clinic, argued with the doctor for like 15 minutes before he finally swabbed me, and results came back. I had a staph infection. Which can be very contagious. Especially I work in a spa where it's skin-on-skin contact, so I wore gloves even before I was diagnosed with a staph infection just because I knew there was something wrong and just to be safe. So anyway, I'm very careful on who I trust and who I listen to. So Dr. Mike always had his facts straight. He always explained and logically made sense. The second source I watched, Global or CTV News, I watched only the 20 to 40 minutes of Prime Minister Trudeau talking in front of his house addressing Canadians. Because whatever comes directly from the government, I'll actually believe rather than here and there. On different news websites, they actually didn't have their facts straight. When the CERB first came out, Trudeau himself said that it's $2,000 a month, and then I went online to look further into it, and one website said up to $2,000 a month, which was very confusing, and obviously it wasn't true. It was $2,000 a month. If I have any more questions, I'll go on canada.ca or call the CRA. When will this be over? And I was really frustrated. I saw it as a dumb question because who the hell knows when this is going to be over? Like, he's not God.
Nobody knows when this is going to be over.
Decide that if you follow the rules, the faster this will be over. As soon as we get a vaccine, we can fight the virus back. Or if it's a virus where everyone catches it, everyone becomes immune, it'll be over. As you well know, I love watching Simplypodlogical and Simplypodlogical, where her and Ben talk about subjects. And today's Thursday,
the 26th or something.
The 23rd, and they posted their new episode of Simplypodlogical where they talked to Dr. Njoo. Christine and Ben phrased these questions in a way that made it possible to get a reasonable answer. So here is the video of the Simplypodlogical video I watched, where they answer those questions that are constantly asked. Another question that they had answered was, is this virus only dangerous to elderly? Are they the only ones at risk of death? And no, they're not. It can affect young people, but because I'm not a doctor or a scientist, I do not want to answer these questions because I don't have the actual facts myself, only from reliable sources. So watch that video. They have a reliable source that answers these complicated questions that everybody is asking. Also, what makes this virus different from the flu? I hear that a lot, that, oh, the flu kills just as many people, which isn't true. Actually, if you do look at the statistics, there is a lot more deaths to COVID-19 than there is to the seasonal flu. But why is this virus so different? In the meantime, I know it's frustrating. I hope I didn't come across that way in my other video, that I think it's oh so easy to just stay home. No, it's not. I cried the other morning because I miss my best friend, who's also my voice teacher. We've been doing lessons over Zoom, which is fantastic that that even exists. I am so glad to be alive in a generation where we have these electronics, where we can still stay in contact with each other. But the physical contact is gone. I always give her a hug when I see her. Of course, she's my best friend. We have tea together and drink it while we have my lesson. I miss going to the mall with my other best friend, or just plainly hanging out with her, getting some food and sitting and chatting for hours until we realize we just need to go home or the mall closes. I miss walking to work, getting off the bus and walking over the bridge, seeing all the boats, seeing the water, walking along the path, which is just beautiful because it's so full of theater, which is something I just love doing. I miss that walk, and sometimes I would get a Starbucks because it's right by the bus stop, and I'd drink it on the way there, then I'd have it for my shift at work. I miss being at work. I work as a telemarketer, and sometimes the phone will just ring and ring and ring, and one call after another, nobody answers, and sometimes we're sitting there, we're just kind of staring at the wall. And so to keep busy, I got a coloring book, and my coworker told me that someone else used to do that, and so she also got a coloring book. In the meantime, she used coloring pages from my book, and then one of the other guys used a coloring page from our coloring books. We'd all sit there and color while the phone rang, and then of course somebody answered. We'd talk to them, and I miss that. I miss sitting with my coworkers and coloring while talking on the phone to people about theater. And so no, this isn't easy for me to just stay home. On the other hand, it is what it is, and I'm someone who finds it easier to just accept what's happening than fighting it, because fighting it isn't going to do anything. It just makes it worse and harder for everyone, and that's why I was so frustrated in my last video. But to look at the good side about staying home, I get to spend a hell of a lot more time with my mom. I get to do my nails a lot more. I get to watch YouTube until my eyes fall out. I can watch all the movies I have more and more. I can read. There's a lot of things that I can do a lot more of that I enjoy. I baked yesterday and cooked, which I never do both in one day very often. That's very rarely happens. So that's one good tip to make it easier to stay home. Try to find the good things in it. I know financially a lot of people are struggling. My mom and sister made way more than Curb gives them, but we're making it work. I make more from Curb than I did from my job, so I can support them in what they're missing from their paycheck. If you have any pets, look at them, how happy they are, you home all the time. I find that another thing that makes it very easy. My sister's dog is just through the roof because she's home all the time. He actually has a chance to miss me. She would leave work in the mornings, and she would bring him to me because I worked evenings, so I would have him during the day. I'd put him back in her room when I'd leave for work, and so he got me in the morning, her in the evenings, and then her on the weekends. Unless she would go see her boyfriend, then I would have him for the weekend sometimes. Don't fight the emotions you feel. If you're frustrated, feel frustrated. Try not to let it out on someone or out on anything. There's a question I hear a lot. People are always asking the Prime Minister, what about these businesses? What about these people? What about these students? What about certain people that aren't covered by the support that's being given? Why these benefits weren't universal? I believe Trudeau answers it reasonable enough. It makes sense, but I guess if it isn't explained in details, a lot of people don't understand it. So if I can help try to explain that, now this isn't coming from an actual government source, this is my actual understanding. The reason it wasn't universal, he wanted to get help to Canadians who need it the most first, and that might sound weird, like why doesn't everyone get money? Everyone needs money. There was the people who were working and who got laid off as soon as the virus became an emergency. So people who had a constant income suddenly didn't have one anymore. He wanted to make sure those people got an income right away. People who weren't working could continue using the sources that they were using. There's a million situations and you can only do so many at a time. I guess that's not everyone's logic, so explaining this might not even really help. And then there's students who plan to work this summer, so now there's a benefit for them because in March, it wasn't summer yet, it was still spring, where normally they'd still be finishing school. So now they have a benefit for the summer, because before that they would just be on the sources that they were using at the time, whether or not the virus was a thing. Because there's a million situations to each group of people, they can't know all the situations. So they start with the basic. There's people who got laid off, get money out to them. There's people who didn't meet those requirements but were working, so get out money out to them. And then more situations come up, and as the situations come up, the government can address them. Then they have benefits for business people, for businesses and companies, and then it doesn't work for everyone because there's different situations, so they will come up with something to help those people in those situations. And as each situation comes up, they can address it, but they don't know every Canadian. There's millions of Canadians. I don't know the exact number of Canadians. That number, I guess I'll look it up. Imagine knowing every single one of them and knowing their job. That would be like, you'd have to have a crazy memory like Mike Ross. And even there, it's photographic memory, not taken in knowledge. So because there is multiple situations to all the Canadians out there, they can only address them as they learn about them. So I hope that does help some people understand what he means by getting money to those who needed it the most first. It's not any prejudice to who deserves it or anything. It's who had an income and lost it, needs money, who is about to have an income, needs it, and is given it, and so on and so on. I think the best way to deal with all this, because it's not easy for anyone, is try to find some positivity in all the negative, because the more positivity you find, the more you fight the negativity. If there's any way to fight something bad like a virus or anything negative at all, is with positivity. Right now, to fight the virus, you have to stay home to prevent the spread. And I saw a poster on a protest in the States. This is American, but there might be some Canadians who feel the same way, and it said that it's my body. Yes, it's your body, and if you're okay catching the virus and think you can survive it, that's fine. But if you go out and you catch it, you don't necessarily know you have it right away, and you can spread it to other people. And yes, those other people are out too, but a lot of them are essential workers that need to be out. And the less amount of people around that they can run into that have the virus, the less chance they get sick, the less essential workers we lose, and we need them right now. There's just so many comments and so many things, so many questions. It's impossible to have everyone on the same page. But the more that we can get on the same page, the faster this will be over. So if somebody wants an answer when this will be over, when we're all on the same page is the fastest that this will be all over. The faster everyone is on the same page, gets their information from reliable sources, understands it, the faster everyone can do what needs to be done to make this end faster. And I think being more supportive for everyone is the faster way to get everyone on the same page. So if I offended anyone in my previous video, that was not my intention. I don't want to make this harder than it has to be. I wish there was a way to make it easier for everyone, but while making it easier for everyone is impossible, for this to be over is not impossible. We can fight this virus. So do the best you can. If you're really feeling stir crazy, go for a walk. We are allowed to do that. Just maintain physical distancing. I find that a lot of non-essentials have become essential. I've picked a few hobbies to keep busy at home. One of them is doing my nails, and I started making YouTube videos, which was something I actually wanted to do before. Now I really have the time to do that, so that's one of the bright things I look at, is that I have all this time now to make videos and do my nails. So I do buy stuff on Amazon to do my nails. I ran out of top coat, so I ordered that on Amazon because I find it's better not to go to Walmart and buy it. There's less contact with people. Somebody just delivers it, leaves it at my door. I don't have to be in contact with them. They don't have to be in contact with me. They put it by my door, text a photo on Amazon. I get the notification, go downstairs and grab my package. I hope that this did help some people, make it easier to stay at home, find a way to stay at home, and maybe even find a way to enjoy staying at home. Go binge watch this TV show that you just love so much. I love Doctor Who. Surprisingly, I haven't binged the whole thing yet. I'm planning to. I do find it hard to find motivation for things, so it's another thing. Don't fight that feeling. If you don't feel motivated to do something, then don't. And as soon as you allow yourself to accept that, your own natural defenses will drop and motivation will spring up where you least expect it. I have no motivation to cook. I've barely been eating because my body kind of goes into like a hibernation state. I don't really understand it, what it does, but I guess I'm not burning any calories, so my body doesn't feel like it needs it. But yesterday, I just wanted to bake. And so I got up and I made pecan tarts for the first time. I baked a cake, but I also cooked salmon for dinner. And then after that, I went to my room and I just watched videos. I continued editing one of my videos that I posted this afternoon. I hope everyone gets what they need to get through this. And stay home, stay safe. Enjoy your pets if you have any, they're there. Enjoy the family that you're with. If you're alone, I'm really sorry, and try to FaceTime with your friends and family to not feel so alone, or find the company in yourself. If you're really feeling lonely, I find sometimes watching YouTube or watching Simplypodlogical, I feel like it's kind of socializing, even though I'm not part of the conversation. I'm one of those people that will answer my computer. I will talk to my computer. I will talk out loud. I talk to myself, but not necessarily to myself. I'm just responding to what I see or hear. And though they don't respond to me, I feel like I'm still part of the conversation. I don't feel as alone, even though I'm not alone. I do have my mom and sister. I heard a lot of animals are being abandoned to animal shelters, so if you're very lonely, I find animals are great companions. Even little guinea pigs, like, they respond to me when I come into the room, when I move about my room. They communicate that way. They ran out of hay the other day and I didn't realize, and I heard this clanging, and I saw that Moko was pushing her hay thing, whatever you call it, up and dropping it, and it would bang against the cage. And so I went over to look at her, what she was doing, and she just stopped and looked at me, and I looked at the hay bin and realized she had no hay. So I filled it up right away. She wasn't out for that long, it was only a short period of time. And so their communication, animals can be very helpful to feel socialized. So I don't know how animal shelters are working, if you can adopt pets right now. But maybe go adopt a pet and have a little companion at home. If anybody watches this and has any questions, feel free to comment. I will try to answer as many as I can, because I'm not a big YouTuber, so I'm not going to have thousands of comments that I can't get through. If you think I've stated any false information, please let me know and I will fix it. Though I try not to state any information, everything I said was based off opinion or information that I received from a reliable source by government officials or doctors themselves. Well, I hope this helped some people. Stay home, stay safe, try to find positivity in this, which I know might sound dumb to some people, but I hope it helps.